Welcome to the Range Podcast. I'm Ricky Bruley, and with me is Jake Hollywood Iverson. Join us at the Archery range, where we'll tell stories from the hunt, discuss technical bow shooting tactics and gear, and pick the brains of some of the most successful people to ever shoot a bow. Whether you're about to shoot that X for the win or send an arrow at a trophy buck, this podcast is for you. The Range Podcast is brought to you by Vapor Trail Archery, makers of the best bowstrings money can buy, originators of limb-driven arrow rest technology, and innovators of Stokerized stabilizer systems. Welcome to The Range, everybody. I'm your host, Ricky Bruley, and I'm here today with my co-host. He's back. I'm back on the episode again, Mr. Hollywood. Thanks for coming back. Iverson Hardwoods made it to the show today. Some
hardwoods.
This is awesome. So here we kind of have a new location, as you can see. I talked about in the previous episode before we did all the replay episodes that we were going to be moving. So this is our new range. You can see the back wall here. That's about as much as I'll dare show you. The rest of the shop is a complete mess right now. So we're just looking at stuff scattered everywhere.
You would not want to see the reverse side of those cameras at all. It's a mess.
But working on getting it cleaned up. In fact, it looks a world better than it did a couple of weeks ago, just getting things organized, getting things moved around. And so for those of you who've been following along all this time, thanks so much for sticking with us and going through all the replay episodes. We just wanted to take some time to make sure that we could focus on getting everything done quickly and efficiently, and make sure all the day-to-day operations here at Vapor Trail and Stokerized are getting taken care of. We did, the episode from the ATA show. We had one of our best shows yet to date.
Yep.
Which was very refreshing, because we didn't go last year, and then the 2 or 3 years prior to that was a struggle.
They were slow.
They were tough. So it was really nice to see that. And so on today's episode, what we are going to do is we released a promotional video for our latest and greatest arrow rest known as the Victor. And we released that at ATA, and we've had a lot of questions on both Archery Talk and on YouTube regarding just all aspects of the rest, just questions that people have. The promo video was really quick. It was a hype video. It was its purpose was to hopefully get some people to engage and ask questions, and so we figured this would be the best platform to do so. And our intention was to do it a lot earlier, but it's been a whirlwind since we got back.
Yeah, we've been a little busy, and I've barely been here too. So
right.
Our hands have been full. So
and on top of that, we're hiring a new pro shop manager as well for when we reopen. So there was all of that, just vetting out a lot of different people, and so just getting things organized in the shop. So anyway, what we wanted to do first was give you a look at the promo video, just in case you haven't seen it. So we're going to play that really quick, and then we'll come back and we'll start answering some of those questions. So stick around and enjoy.
In the world of archery, precision is everything. And when it comes to achieving unmatched accuracy, your equipment makes all the difference. Introducing the Vapor Trail Victor Arrow Rest, the ultimate tool for archers who demand nothing but the best. Built on years of innovation, the Victor Arrow Rest combines the best of our Micro Elite and Gen Integrate designs, offering unmatched precision, utilizing micro adjustability, ultimate customization, and flawless performance with every shot. The limb-driven Victor Arrow Rest allows for both top and bottom limb activation, ensuring the most forgiving and consistent performance every time. Spring tension adjustment technology lets you fine-tune your rest for different arrow weights and shooting styles. And with multiple blade options, you get the flexibility to suit your unique needs. Variable launcher angle adds additional adjustability for the savvy target archer. And it's not just about performance. With multiple colored cage options, you can match your rest to your personal style. The full containment rubber overmolded cage ensures your arrow stays in place with minimal noise and vibration. The attachment bridge system is universally compatible. It's designed to fit both the integrated mounting system and burger button mounting systems, ensuring a versatile fit for any setup. Its free-floating head supports your arrow for up to 70% of the shot cycle, increasing forgiveness and ensuring better downrange accuracy. Weighing in at just 3.8 ounces with the IMS system and 4.5 ounces with the Burger system, the Victor is as lightweight as it is durable, giving you the edge without weighing you down. Whether you're in the heat of competition or out in the field, the Victor gives you the confidence to perform at your best. For those who demand precision, reliability, and performance, the Victor is the only choice. Elevate your archery game today. The Vapor Trail Victor AROS. Unmatched precision and versatility in every shot. Visit vaportrailarchery.com to learn more and get yours today.
All right, everybody, we're back. So here is the scoop. We're going to go through some questions. I'm gonna dig it right into archery talk here, and we're going to start with some of the bigger questions, or the more frequent questions that were asked, and then we'll just kind of break them down and try to answer them as the best that we can.
Yeah.
I was
just going to say too, like the promo videos, like you said, is to create some hype. And, again, we should have had stuff ready to answer right away. It's just we've been busy, but sometimes people think those videos are not informative, but they're not supposed to be that informative. It's just to show it.
Yeah.
It's just to highlight the product. So
if we went through the whole spiel, nobody would stick around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even this one, the animation part does start to get a little bit long. It's like all these features and all these acronyms and all this stuff, and we wanted to be concise, but we also wanted to keep it short. So we felt like 2 minutes was a decent amount of time to get as much information as we could, but in a short period of time, and also make it entertaining.
Right.
Add some entertainment value to it. So I think it is fantastic the way that it turned out. There's actually some more that we are going to do to it. We're going to make a longer form version of it too, for the people who really want to get into the nitty gritty, and that video will also address a lot of the questions that we're about to answer. But I don't think I need to tell you what the biggest probably concern was with people, and that is
the price.
Yep. Absolutely. $339.99, and I'll cut you loose a little bit on explaining, why we had to go with that price.
It all, in the simplest terms, it comes down to machining costs.
Yeah.
That is number one.
Mm-hmm.
It is machine costs. There are a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of material that we cut out of it, and you need the fancy machines to do all that stuff. So simply, it's machine costs. That, takes up a good chunk of it. The other part comes with, it's realized over time, but mold costs. We have new cages and a new blade that we're coming out with. So we have new molds we have to also machine, and then also create for injection molding, and they'll be carbon rubber overmold cages.
Carbon fiber, with the rubber overmold. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just making sure I got that right.
Yep.
Even though I've been doing, this same spiel for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, we've been talking about it so much that I get it.
So that's another chunk of the cost, and then on top of it, we have 2 patents coming with it. Again, another realized cost over time, and we have beautiful packaging that Rick has been working on, and then in addition to all that, at the end of the day, we need to pay QAD as well.
Yep.
So not just our guys get paid, but QAD gets paid because we're bringing you guys an IMS direct mount system.
Mm-hmm.
This rest will directly mount to your IMS systems that are on all bows. There's no extra bracket that you need to mount in order to mount another rest, if you guys catch what I'm laying down.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do it the right way, that way, costs a little bit, but it allows for a lot more fitment and a very easy setup.
Yeah, and so the 2 patents that you're referring to, the one that you just kind of mentioned is the attachment bridge system, ABS. You guys probably saw that in the video, but just having that ability to swap out those brackets, and it's the first of its kind. So currently, Ripcord has a rest known as the Ratchet. You can purchase that as an IMS in limb driven, or you can purchase it as a Burger button as limb driven, but you can't convert it. It's
right.
One or the other. And so this patent it's patent pending right now, but it's the only limb driven rest that you have the ability to do that. And then we also have the VLA, which is the variable launcher angle. And so, not the spring tension adjustment technology. And so having that ability to adjust the spring tension is also something that that nobody else will have the ability to do. And so again, first of its kind. So there is that to be said about it as well. And there's a lot of little intricate moving parts.
Yeah, and I will say too, we are using the best aluminum you can use. So it's not just going to be some dainty little rest. We're using quality parts where this thing has been in the field already and there's no issues, and we're making sure we don't have any breakage issues. So
yeah.
And on top of that, since we're talking about materials, the shaft is also a stainless steel, I believe, but we are doing a NPVD coating. Don't ask me what that is. I just know it's on gun slides and gun barrels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact long form nitride something or nickel plated something.
Yeah.
But that kind of takes care of some of that glare you might have on a stainless shaft. Just again, kind of matches everything. It's all black.
Yeah.
So it looks really nice, and then it's very corrosion and scratch resistant. So.
And also in the video, you'll notice too that the mounting bolt and the washer for the burger bolt mount will also be coated.
Yep.
Eventually, so that will also be black. So for anybody who is concerned about any glare or any shine coming off of that, we'll be making that black as well.
Yeah. So in the long form, there's your price. In short, machining and manufacturing costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we want our dealers to have a good margin.
Yes.
And then of course we have to have our margin too. So, again, there's a lot of work that gets put into it. There's a lot of intricate parts. So the assembly part, we do that all in house, and it takes time, and we have to make sure the tolerances are very tight. So everything has to be spot on when it comes to, all those parts being assembled. So we only have currently one person assembling those.
Right. Yeah. And we have a lot of orders, so he might be freaking out.
Yeah. I mean, eventually we're all going to be, both me and you, I'm sure, are going to be putting them together too, But again, it's that whole thing. Like we don't want to just hire somebody off the street to just start putting these things together. We want somebody who has an intricate understanding of how the product functions, putting it together to ensure that every single unit is of the highest quality.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well said on the, dealer thing, that you need to support your local dealer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what drives the industry. So
yep.
We didn't just throw a dart at a target and say, that's the price we're going with.
Yeah.
It's all justified.
Yep. Exactly. So here's another question. This is Archery Talk from Tim/OH. And I just wanted to address this one because he says, nice rest for sure, but like others have said, it's VT version of the Epsilon, which is a Hamsky. I sold my Epsilon to buy a Gen 8X, rocking with that for another year or two. So the reason I want to address this comment is that people are immediately coming out and saying, well, I thought the 8X was the best rest. So now why the Victor? Or why are we, And so, again, it's going back to, yes, the 8X is a phenomenal aero rest. It's fantastic. And we're not trying to say that this is better. Mm-hmm. It is, we did go back to the traditional fall away, like our original Pro. And, the reason we did that is because in order for our rest to have the versatility that it has, in order for the Victor to fit on every bow that's on the market now, is that we have to bring our mechanism back down below where your arrow rests at full draw. The 8X style and the Pro V style, where that arm swings down, the mechanism is above, and so we run into fitment issues because now the arrow rest hits the roller guard or the flex guard or whatever it may be that pulls the cables out of the way on the bow. And so it's just every year it seems like now we have to do a redesign because we can't fit this next year's bow. We can't fit this next year's bow. So we're going back to that. So now we have an option that is versatile. It's not necessarily better technology. You'll see a lot of target archers kind of prefer that sort of a style because then you can use a spring steel blade, which in turn has a tendency to give you greater forgiveness. But in all fairness, when we originally designed the Pro V, which we're talking, I mean, this is back in probably 2010 or 11, something like that. That was one of our biggest concerns, was having that solid arm. You know, are you going to get the same forgiveness? And in all of our testing, you know what I mean, so much of it, you still have that forgiveness of the free floating head.
Right.
And that's really the key. That's when we discovered that free floating head is the ticket. And so, again, we're not trying to say that this technology is better than the 8X. We still are going to sell those other options, you know,
Yep.
price point wise, you know, it's a better option, and they still function really, really well. So that's why I wanted to kind of address that one, because I've had multiple people say, well, I really like my 7X. Why would I change? You know, and again, it's, you know, the 7X is burger button only. You know, 8X is basically the 7X IMS version.
Yep.
And so now the Victor is everything all kind of squeezed into one. It's super versatile. It's really good for dealers, because if they have it on hand now, it's like, hey, we've got this rest that'll fit on anything.
And what's funny is, you know, thinking about it, we've been working on this for more like 6 years.
Yep.
And going back to how you're saying the fitment, you know, 6 years ago, we were already working on a rest that is basically what the Victor became. And that probably would have cleared every boa even to this point, but integrated mounting systems came out, and it basically put a halt on everything. So, you know, yes, 6 years ago, we were basically planning for fitment issues in a way, and then all of a sudden all the bows started changing before we were even ready for it. So, you know, this was a plan in the works for a long time, and now we do have that option for everyone to fit, you know, their what rest they want to whatever bow they want.
And it was a very odd time, too, because when the IMS first came out, we were all kind of like, oh, yeah, it's just you know, we didn't think all that much of it. You know what I mean?
No one did.
And in all reality, you know, when we first came out with our first IMS rest, it was just like, when we came out with that 8 and 8X, it was, from a dealer standpoint and from a mounting standpoint, it was just like, man, this is actually really nice. You know what I mean? Like, automatically squares it up to the bow. It's super tight. And it just, you know, it's convenient. But in the beginning, we didn't really know where it was going to go. And we didn't want to, well, we wanted to try to start to develop a model that would function as an IMS, but we couldn't get around the licensing agreement that we now have with QAD. They had a strategic plan, and they laid that out. And then once that plan was up with the bow manufacturer specifically, then they opened it up to us, and we jumped on it immediately. Like, I mean, as fast as we possibly could. This is debatable, but we may have been the first company to have a licensing agreement with QAD on this.
Yeah.
On the integrated mounting system. And that brings me to another point, going back to price. So when we first started developing this Aero rest, we called it the $99 rest.
Yep.
Because the idea was pitched to us by another engineer in the industry, and then we were like, oh, okay, yeah, we like this idea, let's roll with it. And then we quickly figured out that was impossible.
Dude, I don't know how. I mean, every rest, we were using parts that we were already using with other rests. The machine costs, I don't know how you could get it any cheaper unless you bought thousands of units at once, you know?
Right. And in all fairness, it wasn't an IMS at that time. You know,
Right.
It was just a regular burger style. And then, you know, we were looking at, you know, a new cage style. We were looking at, it would have been our first, I guess, well, no, we had already had the 7. The Gen 7 was already out, so we already had that cage.
Correct.
But
It still was going to be different, though.
yeah, and then you got the addition of bearings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was when the spring tension adjustment was first introduced, and when we started looking at that, I was like, oh, man, I like that. And so, you know, but then it was, you know, the mold costs were, you know, any other manufacturer that's listening to this will understand, they're astronomical. I mean, it is crazy the amount of time it takes you to recover your money from a mold.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, yeah, you've got 3D printing and all that kind of stuff now, and it's getting better, but it's just not quite up to par with what we're doing. You know, there's certain products that you can 3D print, but this isn't one of them. These cages take a beating, people going through the woods. I mean, even with the strength that we have in ours now, someone still finds or manages to break one.
Right.
You know, and again, that's uncommon, but it does
Very.
happen, and there's no chance there's going to be anything out there that we could 3D print right now that would be durable enough, or at least that we would have the confidence in knowing that we're not going to have an issue.
Right. Yeah. The when I spoke with Kevin at QAD, you know, they're kind of fortunate they have in-house machining. So even then, though, you know, he says with, you know, those new MX2s, they have the rubber insert. You know, he's still saying, you know, it still costs a lot of money to machine out that mold. And even then, you usually get, like, what? It depends. I think it's like 10,000 to 20,000 injections before, boom, that mold's done.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to buy a new one.
Yep.
So, yeah, even, you know, QAD has the same problem, but it's a little bit cheaper for them since it's directly in-house. They have the machines in-house.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, that cost quickly rose. And again, so that's the other thing that we didn't and haven't actually really pointed out in any materials I think that we have, is that we went from our traditional brass bushing to now bearings, actual bearings. And this is some of the comments that we heard too, like some rebuttals that were in support of Vapor Trail, that I really appreciated was, you know, look, everybody asked questions, and Vapor Trail answered, and now everybody's all up in arms about it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say everybody. We've got a ton of support. We've got a ton of people. Dealers are they want them. Like, they wish they could have them now.
Yep.
You know, and so again, but they're, you know, you've always got some, you know, a small group of people out there that, you know, the naysayers that are just like, you know, trying to stir the pot and whatever. And again, I don't take offense to any of that. In fact, I look at it as a compliment, and that, you know, again, we talked about this in the podcast, you know, we're kind of whacking the bee's nest a little bit. And, you know, I can't deny the fact that it does look very similar to an Epsilon. It's not our goal to copy them, you know,
No.
But again, it may also be a compliment to them, because it's like, well, that's a really solid design. We like the way that functions. We're just going to put our own spin on it.
Right.
You know,
and I mean, to be fair, like, you know, again, we've been working on this for 6 years. So the features that are similar to the two rests now, part of it was already becoming, or came to light 6 years ago. We just had to put it on hold. And then again, in all fairness, we came first.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we were the first limb-driven aero rest company there ever was.
Absolutely.
So,
in fact, we were laughed at for it in the beginning.
Yep.
And, you know, we don't need to get too much into detail about that. It's just, you know, there's no bitterness whatsoever. We still stand by the fact that limb-driven is ultimately the way to go, especially when it comes to long-range stuff. You know, obviously, cable-driven, it works. You know, it's not like you can't have success going that route.
Right.
You know, but of course it's our bread and butter, so that's what we're going to stick with. So, I'm trying to think. Let's see. So here's one from 454 Kasul. When the limb driver was our only rest, it was affordable with minimum parts, you know, bulletproof. But we, the archery public, said, oh, I need micro adjustments, bearings instead of bushings. It doesn't have full capture. Well, all that costs money. So be careful what you ask for. Innovation is good and necessary, but it's not free. So, you know, again, somebody out there kind of shedding some light on that, you know, and trying to help people understand. And we're not eliminating our entire line, and this is the only option.
No, we're just like UltraView at this point. It's just like, you have other options.
Yeah.
We're just giving you the best.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, answering all those questions, you know, and that's kind of the stance that we've always taken. And this goes all the way back to when, you know, Ears was running around, you know, hitting up all the dealers and stuff. And, you know, the question that you ask to a dealer is, well, why don't you carry it? And then for whatever reason they don't want to carry it, we have to address those issues, because we want you to carry it. We don't want you to feel like you can't bring it in because it doesn't have full capture or because it doesn't have a certain feature that you're looking for. And so we want to answer that.
Yep.
It's just a part of the innovation. Let's see, what else do we got here? I just want to read this. Some of this, yeah. Prices are indeed ridiculous. Hard to believe we killed deer with a bare whitetail too. Sights that were slotted plates with movable pins, aluminum arrows, and flip arrests. How did we ever do it? I do believe we've come a long way though, and I enjoy the tech advancements, but not enough to drop $339.99 on a rest. But then again, that is why all of my stuff is used classified equipment. It looks like I'll be able to try this rest out in 2027 when they drop on classifieds at 50 to 70% off of this price. LOL. So let's see. Looks like a ham ski with some added features for adjustment, IMS mounting, and lighter weight. I think this is a winner. Let's see. Wow, the way prices are going, I might have to sign my wife for an OnlyFans account. Some guy responds, got pics, just kidding. Too much going on for me, way too many moving parts, not to mention the price. To each their own. Looks nice, but just like my Epsilon, it looks like the vertical micro adjust is right under the cable guard. That has been a hassle on quite a few bows I mounted my Epsilon on. Looks like a nice rest, though. Lots of adjustment options for sure. And just so people know, it is a thumb knob, but you can also put an Allen key into the end of that thumb knob.
Right.
So if you've got a long Allen key, or even just, I think most short ones will even aid you in making that adjustment. You can even use the screw underneath.
Oh yeah,
I believe to
you
adjust
might be able
it.
to. Yeah, I was just gonna say our Gen 7 was like that, and I did not care for it only because when you're the guy that's working on the bow, what drove me nuts is, I mean, it's a different setup now, but you're sitting there trying to look from bottom to top, and sure, maybe some shops have something to raise it up higher, or you have the bow vise that tips over. But I don't want to do that. I don't want, and then I drop everything too. So then you got the hex key. You're just get in the slot, and then boom, you drop it. So I mean, can't please everyone, but
yeah,
it's definitely a viable option. You know, if the roller guard somehow came out right there, even tighter, we could go underneath. But
right.
I don't know. I think it's fine where it is. Just use a key. That's what I'm going to use.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I'm going to call it out. You know, Matthews is the bow company that is forcing our arrow rest to become as intricate as a watch.
And that's not just Vapor Trail.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
It's any arrow rest company right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, whether, you know, it's, you look at it as an actual advancement in technology and all that kind of stuff, and you know that's debatable in my mind too. But nonetheless, this is where we're at, right? And so the only thing we can control is that we redesign, and so it's forced the innovation. So there's a silver lining there. But speaking of people that you can't please, this guy Safari Dreamer on Archery Talk says, "I'm not feeling the word Victor in bold letters on the back."
I keep forgetting that a couple people were up in arms about that. But
yeah, one guy actually posted a picture of a Victor mousetrap.
Oh, yeah.
You know, again, whatever. It's all in jest. I don't take it. But that's the other thing, too, and I know we did mention this in that previous episode as well, but the inspiration behind the name is based on, it's the middle name of who I like to call the godfather of limb-driven technology, and that's Jerrod Fondie. He's the original founder of Vapor Trail, and he is the original one who designed that concept, or at least brought it to market anyways.
Yep.
And, you know, I know that he had brought the technology to a few companies that were existing, and they weren't interested. They didn't want anything to do with it. And so, again, fine. What, you know what I mean? So now here we are, right? It's essentially Vapor Trail who originated that technology, and Jerrod Victor Fondie is the godfather of limb-driven technology, and that's why we chose that name for the arrow rest.
And it's, got two parts to it. I mean, you got, again, the biggest reason Jerrod Victor Fondie, his middle name, the guy that started it all. And then the second reason, I mean, how perfect of a middle name, to be victorious, for a target archer, or even when you're in the field, it's a victory.
Yeah.
If you're successful. So, I think it's sweet.
Pretty straightforward on that,
Yep.
And so, here's another guy, Deer 310 SG. I'm a VT guy till the end, but no way I'm buying. And that's okay. That's good. Like,
It's all right.
appreciate all the support. He shoots an i8, a Gen Integrate rest, the standard one, not the X. And we appreciate the support regardless. You know what I mean? If you're currently shooting one, there's no need for you to get a new one.
Right.
If there's anything that we do that's detrimental to our company, it's that we build products too good, and they don't often need to be replaced.
Yeah. And I don't know. If you wish you could maybe make that happen, but at the same time, that's kind of, kind of a scam company then too.
Right, exactly.
It's like we love the extra support by people buying more product, but we want our stuff to last.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, lots of comments about the price. Some people just saying looks good, interesting. I'm moving away from the newer integrated back to the standard mount vapor trails on the next string change. All that apparatus for micro adjust sticks out farther from the integrate mount than the regular rest do. Interferes with my low pro 2-piece quiver, so this one is going to be an easy pass for me.
What?
So that one I'm a little confused by, because this rest is actually even tighter than the 8X.
It's tighter than a QAD.
Was. So
I'm confused because he's saying it's further away, like maybe toward the string, yes, versus an 8 or 8X. But now either 8 or 8X fits with a low pro quiver, and this one certainly fits with a low pro quiver.
Right. So this is in response to Q2 death. Well, I'll probably send you a message on Archery Talk. But so just so people know, the first iteration of the 8X did interfere.
Yep.
With the one piece.
Yeah, the one-piece quiver. Only.
And mostly, the 2-piece possibly, but mostly it was just because that knob stuck out, and then the way the 1-piece quiver works is you have to pivot it out, so an arrow would hit that knob, and then you couldn't pivot it out to take it off. And then depending on how you had it set up, you might have an arrow that's making contact with the knob or whatever. And I get the frustration there. We had some guys that would just not put an arrow in that slot.
Yeah.
But then we addressed that issue. We thinned it up. Now it's not a problem. And then, but you may, I think with the 2-piece, you have to use the spacers, right? The Q-Light spacers.
You do have to use spacers, yes.
Yes. So if you use the Q-Light spacers, it does pull the quiver out just a little bit, but gives you plenty of room. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really pull it out that much where it's detrimental to the performance of the bow.
No.
So hopefully that answers that question. That comment is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, they're just going two different ways there. I don't know, but it will fit.
Yeah. Looks nice. Luke G. But I was actually planning to move back to Vapor Trail from Hamsky for fewer parts and added simplicity on my next bow. And again, there's other options. You know
got
what
the
I mean?
Gen 8.
Yep. For simple drop away rests, the standard Pro V and Gen 7 are hard to beat. I'll stick with the simplicity of my PXI. It does what I need it to do for a considerably less amount of cash, make archery affordable again. And again, good for everybody. We're always going to have these options, so got to be better than most anything else at that price point if one thinks cost dictates quality. Sadly, that is generally the case. That said, their rests typically are pretty fail-safe compared to their competition. It does look feature-packed, and since they have hit a new high in cost, that'll allow the Hamskys and Q80s of the world the opportunity to up their prices as well and just undercut by a few bucks. That's from Rockwell.
That is I think that is a good, true statement. That's something that I think all of us have had concerns on is, we hope that Hamsky and Q80 don't take advantage of that just because they can to squeeze out a few bucks. But
yeah.
Then again, you might get more units sold staying at $300, which both of them are at now. So.
Right. Exactly. And I agree with that too. It very well could be the case. Again, it's not us trying to line our pockets more. It's trying to address the concerns that people have with fitment and functionality, and in turn, we just want to make sure that everybody gets paid for their time and their efforts. So let's see. I like it. I have 2 Epsilons on hunting bows. I will probably try it on a new bow when I get it. Wish the knob wasn't right there for elevation. Not sure it will work with roller guard on M33. We will find out.
Certainly should.
I think it should be just fine.
In the worst case, you guys might need to use a stubby Allen wrench.
Yeah.
Which, sorry about it, but an angle grinder works too. There's a way.
This guy responds to, so that comment was from Big Bucks 170. Justified 07 responds to that. Exactly my thoughts on the elevation adjustment. I'm curious if it will clear the roller guard on my M30 or M34. One thing we did find out too is with the PSEs and with the new PSEs and how they're going to have the quiver that mounts to the actual roller guard itself, not a problem.
Yep. It's easy. It fits no problems at all. That was exciting for us.
Yeah.
It was kind of a sticking point with the 8 series. The 8s do not fit most PSEs. So hopefully someone hears that and doesn't buy another 8. We've had a few of those run-ins. The PXI will, but because of that roller guard and quiver system, they hit each other. So Victor will have no issue.
BT Tuner. So it's a Hamsky with extra steps? Question mark.
Ooh, I love this one. Let's get in it.
Yeah. Go.
MFJJ here. Podium Archer came up to me and said, actually, the inverse of that, it's less steps, because that is true, but more money. Which I think justifies that sentence right there. It's less dinking around. The Hamsky, I wanted to address this, so that's perfect. I didn't know that question was in there. The Hamsky does have the angle adjustment, and I believe they have tension adjustment. I believe they do. Either way, for sure on the angle adjustment, you got these little pitch screws. And again, we're going to my most hated spot on the rest again. Underneath it. Mm-hmm. So now you're playing with the up and then down and then up and down, and you're putting one in, taking one out to adjust that pitch, whereas ours is literally on the side of the rest.
Yeah.
Drive a screw in, drive a screw out. Same sort of thing, but on the side of the rest on one pin.
Yeah.
And so way easier. And their tension adjustment, I believe, don't you have to pop? Oh, no, that's top and bottom. We'll go there too. Easier again. I'm not exactly sure how their tension adjustment works. Either way, it's insanely simple on ours. Mm-hmm. You loosen up the set screw on the inside of the rest toward the shaft where your blade is, and then just leave your thumb on the tension wheel, and you turn it to one of 4 slots. Screw it back in.
Yep.
Not too hard.
Mm-hmm.
All up in your grill where you can see it. Nothing underneath. So yeah, no, it's like a Hamsky, but easier, not harder.
Exactly. And that's what we wanted to do, because that spring tension adjustment was always a feature that we had that other companies didn't. But it was one of those deals where oftentimes if you had somebody who maybe wasn't very mechanically inclined, they would loosen the set screw on it, and then it would blow up on them, and then you're like, so we had to find a way to make it more user friendly. Mm-hmm. And so even in this case, like when when you take that screw out, you can feel the tension on it, but you don't have to be concerned. Like if it slips out of your hand, it's okay. Let it go. It's okay. You can let it go. Just dial it back in, and you just look in that little window, and you look to see where the slot is. Boom. You put the screw in, set it, and you're all done. And so, with the other option, it was like, okay, so it was sort of infinitely adjustable, but we discovered that you don't really have to have that. You just need to, when it's in its 4th tension setting, I don't know that anybody will ever even need to use that. It's an extreme amount of spring tension.
You're talking on the Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's completely unnecessary.
No.
But, who knows? People are getting into some really heavy arrows these days, and who's to say maybe it'll start trending the other way again in the next few years. But nonetheless, we just want to have all our bases covered.
Well, without going too far down the hole, that extreme tension, so slot 4, perfect for a target setup too.
Yeah.
But we'll go back to that maybe later.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk more about that. There's a comment there that says extra money too. So I'm just gonna go back real quick. BT Tuner says so it's a Hamsky with extra steps, and then we just went over that. Another gentleman comments extra money too, and then BT Tuner comes back and says, yeah, that's weird since the V-Rest design was seen to be superior to a launcher blade. And again, I don't know where that information came from. We've never advertised that technology as being better.
I haven't personally.
Maybe it's simply implied because it's something that we changed to and just started doing. But again, it's good.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, I don't really know how else to say it.
I was telling Rick before this is I could maybe see that making sense in the fact of your typical fall away blade, whale tail, fork, whatever you want to call it, lizard tongue. You usually, like the Q80, you'd want to flip that thing up first, or be very mindful of where your arrow sits on the shelf, because when you go to draw back, the arrow might kick out of there to the left, and then, if you're a right-handed shooter, and then all of a sudden your arrow's just sticking straight out the side of the bow, or it might get wedged between that fork, lizard tongue, whatever you call it, and the riser, and then you blow up your bow. But so with the V style, you never have to worry. You can just, blindly draw back, and it will always scoop up your arrow, which is very nice. But I'm going to give credit to Hamsky here, and I think even Ripcord has it. Having that wider whale tail, most arrows, maybe you find something that slips in there, but I'm not very well versed in that. But for ours anyway, it'll still grab that arrow and bring it into the middle. Mm-hmm. So, I don't see the superiority of it. I don't know. I could see that being one of the things. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's probably about the only point that I would say that makes it more. It just makes it a little bit more foolproof. You know what I mean? Like you can draw it back blindly, and yeah. And then but for those of us who have been shooting for the better part of 20 years or more, we're used to the old dropaways that didn't have capture anywhere at all, and so you get yourself in the habit of actually watching the arrow come across the blade. Mm-hmm. And I even on a Gen Integrate or a Gen 7 or whatever it may be, Pro V, I still watch the arrow just out of habit, But and again, that's not to say that you have to do that, but to your point, that's part of the design in this is, we've added that wider blade to it, and then you can still use the old traditional spring steel blades too if you prefer, if you want some of that added forgiveness. But I suppose we should point out the blade that is going to ship with it is actually going to be the same substrate that the cage is made out of. It'll have some little rubber overmolds on the sides of it, and so just lighter weight and pretty strong, pretty durable.
It looks cool.
So yeah, and it'll match the colors of the cage as well.
But that blade will change, or you can change the blade between I've just been telling everyone our legacy blades.
Yep.
What we've had since the very beginning. The Pro, you can get the Hunter blade, the Capture blade, which has little fins on it to hold your arrow, so a little another peace of mind, and then the Target blade, and then of course your spring steel, true Target blades.
Right. So. Exactly. So it's probably be the last question I'll read, and then I think there's a couple other features that we'll talk about on the rest as well. But this one's a little bit long. Jank 589. Definitely agree with everyone. The price of archery equipment is through the roof. A new setup, flagship bow / top accessories is $3,000 plus. On the flip side, I'm really excited about this rest and I have one pre-ordered. Was on OG Vapor Trail was an OG Vapor Trail guy and switched to Hamski because they're built like a tank and had way more adjustments than my Vapor Trail Pro Micro. I believe he's talking about the Micro Elite. After running Hamskis for the last few years, I recently switched back to the Vapor Trail Gen 8X for the IMS mounting option and weight reduction. I'd just rather put my weight other places than a rest. I get the price pushback, but I'm sort of surprised by people saying this is just an updated Epsilon, like it's no big deal, when that's exactly what people have been asking for. For years, some of the biggest complaints about Hamskis have been weight, lack of IMS, and cord issues, myself included. Just scroll through AT and you'll see hundreds, if not thousands, of people saying the same thing. Vapor Trail basically addressed these complaints for Hamski. Looking forward to trying this one out.
That guy absolutely rinsed Hamski. Jesus.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. He's and again, I totally understand people wanting options. You know what I mean? I know a ton of people that have a limb driver on one bow and a Hamski on another bow, or whatever it may be, for whatever purposes they need it for. And so again, just going back to that, I appreciate his comments in relation to, like I said earlier, we're just trying to make the option that people are asking for, and we're not getting rid of everything else that is still out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say after that. I mean, yeah. This is just like he said, and you've said. This is what you wanted.
Yep.
Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more to it, and we'll go down that road too.
The other thing you had mentioned too that we'll jump on real quick too is a guy made a comment on YouTube. The video, when you go to the 3D animation, it's not clear, I guess. I didn't think that anybody would think this, but the comment was top and bottom limb. Come on. And so what we mean by that is you have the ability to run your activation cord either to the top or to the bottom, not both. Certainly you could do both if you wanted to, but that's absolutely ridiculous and not what we're implying at all. We just want you to be able to have both. So right now with our 7X and our 8X, you have to have an adapter. And the PXI as well. There's an adapter. It's a little roller. The cord goes up through that roller and then comes down. But the problem we run into there is with some bows, that roller does not allow for you to get enough windage. And so that was another thing we wanted to address with the Victor. You can now go top and bottom limb. There's no adapters, no nothing you need. It's just ready to go, and you can choose.
Right. And
whichever
that's
way you want to go.
And that was just where I was alluding to earlier with easier than Hamski, because Hamski could do the same. We've been able to do that since the very beginning, fairly easy. But on Hamskis, I believe that's where you have to take the thing off, on the outside, and switch something around. I don't really know, but you have to do some hokey stuff to get it on to go to the top limb or bottom limb. This one is just, you can run it tied to your top limb, run it right through the cutout that we have, and you're done.
Yeah.
Bottom limb, straight up from the bottom, tighten the screw, you're done.
Yep.
So very easy, no flipping of anything, no screws needed other than just the set screw.
Yep.
So
perfect. And let's talk about a little bit, we started to allude a little bit to the spring tension and what feature or what advantage there is to bringing the spring tension to its highest level.
Yeah, so this is where we can go do a full swing here on the target side of things. So this rest is for the guy that wants, the new shiny object and, top tier or whatever, and also might be into target shooting. This is a competition style rest. Can beat out any of the others, I'd say. And by using that tension, if you want to run it as a limb driven rest, I think even with the factory setting, you would have no issue with the target arrow setup, because they get so heavy. Mm-hmm. But if you needed more tension, you can go higher. But the more exciting part of it is you can run it as a static rest. Yep. So if you want, we've had the Blade X before, mm-hmm. And that was just, static rest, just a spring steel. That's all you get. And this one, if you take the activation cord out of it, You can ramp the tension all the way up. You still don't need to, but if you want to, you can ramp it all the way up, and it'll basically already be playing as a static rest. But then with our blade angle adjustment, you can just drive the bottom screw in till your knock level is to the right height that you want, and then you can run in the other screw to the other pin, and now you're super solid.
Mm-hmm.
The blade's not going to move at all other than what the forgiveness of the blade you choose is.
Yeah.
So the thickness of the blade. So that's, the target side of the spring tension. If there is, a really light arrow, I still don't think you would need to adjust it, but, if you have an extremely light arrow, you can also loosen the tension and make it more forgiving on bringing it up if it were to come up so fast that it throws the arrow,
Mm-hmm.
which, again, haven't seen that yet, but there's always someone.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, so you can use all those blades that we've had in the past, those lizard tongue blades. You can use the backer blades. They're all compatible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we're also looking at some of the enhancements that we want to do to it are going to be more on the target related side of things. We're still not sure if it's just going to be an enhancement we're going to include in this one or if it's going to be a separate SKU. We're still kind of trying to decide on how we want to go about doing that. But again, just constantly trying to evolve, constantly trying to give everybody what they want. Right now, as it sits, you really could, swap the head out pretty simply. You know what I mean? Like you can, because of that attachment bridge system, you can leave your mounting bracket attached to the bow, whether it's burger button or IMS, and you could pull that whole head off and put a different one on, or you know what I mean? So it's swappable without anything moving.
Right.
For the most part. And so it's not as user-friendly as some of the other ones that are out there on the market. And so those are some things that we're kind of looking at as far as like what we can do to, again, just make it more user-friendly and simple to use.
Yeah. I was going to say the same. With the target guys, you can use that burger mount to do some of the torque tuning stuff. That might be another bracket, a different bracket we eventually do. We have a lot of stuff already. Like we already know what we want to make,
Mm-hmm.
more of this rest. But where is it going? Oh, with the attachment bridge system, on that promo video, you'll see in the animated part, the screw on the clamp side, so the right side or the outside of the rest, comes all the way out. You don't have to go all the way out either. You just loosen it up just enough. I mean, I still go a little bit more, but you don't have to take it all the way out. Just loosen it up. Go into that silver pin on top. You just unscrew that all the way. And then what I've been doing, if it's on a bow, you just take your Allen wrench, the key, push the pin right out through the hole, and then you hold on to that pin, and you can swap it to your other bow.
Yep.
I mean, it's easy. Or swap it to the other bracket, whatever you're doing. Again, you can swap it fairly easy. It's still not like, some others that are extremely easy, but nonetheless, you can switch it around.
Right.
So, trying to think, is there anything else we missed on the target side of things? Biggest thing is just you can run it static, and you can still run a limb driven, and you can play with your tension in many different forms.
Yeah.
We did have a guy that came in and tried out for a league night, and he set it up minutes before shooting time and shot 56. So I'd say the proof's in the pudding right there.
Yeah, and now it's going to be soon on its way to Vegas.
Yeah,
Correct.
It is. Yep. Yeah, that rest will be making it there. So
we'll see. We'll see how it does. And there's a couple of bigger names out there that shoot really well that are going to get their eyes on it and get an opportunity to see it. And so we'll kind of see where things go from there. But again, just trying to continue to evolve and innovate as much as we possibly can, and just always try to be ahead of the curve as much as possible. Now that we finally have something that fits everything, and that brings me to another thing, where we get a lot of people that say they have this is probably arguable, but the Matthews switchback, I bet, is probably one of the most popular bows that people shoot, probably that is 10 plus years old.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of them out there, and they still have like a good resale value because people just love that bow, right? But an IMS rest isn't going to fit on there. And
Right.
so for those guys that they'll call up and they want to upgrade. They want to put a new rest on. They want the 8X. Sorry about it. Not going to work.
Yep.
But now the Victor will work.
Right.
With the burger bracket, the narrow bracket.
Yep.
Will work. So there's 2 brackets. There's a wide bracket for modern bows, and there's a narrow bracket for, I guess, legacy bows, you might call it.
Yeah. And I was going to mention, too, because I don't – actually, the promo video does show it. There are multiple color cages and blades.
Yes.
So, and only earth tones right now. We are not playing the game of pinks and purples anymore, at least at the moment. We are not doing that. So
we've got 1 tally mark for the yellow.
Who the hell? Are you kidding?
We had a gentleman on Instagram want to know if we were going to do any other colors, and then he mentioned yellow, and I was like, man, you might be the only one. Sorry to disappoint, but I don't. I mean,
I don't know if there's an upcharge for single shots for colors, but if there isn't, I mean, sure, let's do a small batch. But
the rest is already expensive as it is. If we're going to run a yellow blade, it's going to really ramp that price up. Yeah,
man.
There's talks about doing some colors. If we do, they're going to be the more popular ones, probably red, flow green, orange.
Yeah.
And maybe pink.
Yeah, I could see pink maybe working, but
otherwise, I don't know if there's any other ones that we would do. I mean, green is decent, if it's the right green, darker green, but we'll have OD.
Yeah.
So that will fulfill that. It's just one of those things where it's tough to, with these rubber overmolded parts, everything is based on volume. Mm-hmm. Price is based on volume, and we're trying our best to keep the cost as low as we possibly can, despite what our MSRP is. We still are. We're fighting to keep it as low as we can, and so we'll see kind of how things go. Prices are constantly going up. Especially anything that's being done stateside. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully we can continue to offer this price depending on how things go. So
that's the hope. I mean, we don't like having to charge that much either, but our cost is just it is the most expensive rest we've ever machined.
It is, but it's not the most expensive rest.
No, it is not. Someone else has a more expensive rest than us. There's I think there's 2 someones.
There's a few.
And I'm going to shout out QAD here. They do have a static rest. That's all it is. That's $400. Now, Josh Jones, his comeback was, well, you can do this and this and this. I'm like, it's still a static rest at the end of the day, buddy. Come on.
Yeah.
It's still static. I mean,
I wish I could have been there to see the fisticuffs between you two.
Oh, we're throwing. But, I mean,
in the
still
end,
hug it out.
You're friends, and, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we were shooting
good.
each other, but, yeah, still shake hands at the end of it. It's all jokes.
Yeah, and everybody should keep an eye on his page as well for a review coming from him on the Victor. He'll be getting one soon enough. Bowhunter Planet will be getting one, too. They're going to be doing some reviews and unadulterated, unfiltered reviews.
Yep. And the first thing, I mean, I might know what Josh might say right away.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he told me you will hear the price. So.
And that's all right. But anyways, so, yeah, I think that's all we got.
Yeah, I was just going to, at least for me, say thank you all for the support. You had mentioned, these target archers that are going to see this rest. It made me think we don't pay anyone to shoot our stuff at the professional level. It is something that I've always asked for and want for contingency money anyway, and maybe it's something we can do in the future. But for you guys that are diehard fans, I appreciate you. I love you.
Yes.
Without you guys, we wouldn't be here, and we couldn't keep innovating. And again, other companies can and do pay shooters. Take that as you might, but you guys are our rock. We don't pay you guys. So, although you guys, some of you deserve it. So thank you for the support. It's been great so far.
Absolutely. Well said, Hollywood. Well, with that, we are going to pack up our bows and
stay at the range.
Have a great day, everybody.
Peace.
Vapor Trail is now offering an exclusive discount to the Range Podcast listeners. Enter promo code TRP15, that's TRP15, at checkout for 15% off VTX bowstrings and Vapor Trail and Stokerized branded t-shirts, hats, and other gear.